Hi, this is Martine. You can call me Snake. Today I'm starting a new program called Snake's Report. Here I will show gameplay footage and give my thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly on different media that I will be tackling in this show. Today's mission takes me to Ghost of Tsushima, the recently released PlayStation 4 exclusive made from Sucker Punch and the last big PlayStation exclusive of this console generation. All footage has been recorded on a standard PS4, so keep that in mind that it probably won't be as pretty as it could be. Ghost of Tsushima is a game that from the get go will just bring eye candy everywhere you look in the world. Seeing all the trailers and promotional footage before launch, I came to this game knowing it was going to be very pretty. But then when I actually started playing the game, it just blew my mind. Given the first major section to bring you into a world is at night and only the shine of the moon brightens the world itself, the story kicks off, and that is where the contrast and the vibrancy of just the universe of Tsushima takes your breath away. Outside of a game like Witcher 3 and Horizon Zero Dawn, this world is luscious and a pure joy to look at. So much so that it actually drew me into the photo mode of the game, which I usually abandon for actual gameplay. Tsushima's beauty led me to actually take quite a few shots and really dive into exploring the world for more vistas. And this, of course, without even taking into account, the stylistic choices that the game brings you, like Kurosawa mode, which I have yet to try out at the time of this recording, but from what I've seen is absolutely gorgeous. Ghost has a solid start with its gameplay and follows through with its swordplay as well. Controlling Jin and going from a basic samurai to the terrifying ghost is satisfying and smooth. Swinging your katana at the Mongols and bandits of the world gives you a true sense of power on top of a badass feeling as the game makes sure that they aren't just damage sponges, letting you cut them down with a few swipes of your katana so that they'll be a bloody mess on the floor. Now, exploring this world was one of the best experiences because it was so relaxing. This is also, though, however, where Ghost shows some technical issues in its world. Consistently, I've had to get used to the constant stalling on rock ledges, where the game prevents you from fluidly dropping, even sometimes from small elevation gaps. It makes sense when you don't want to have the sudden realization that you rode your horse off a cliff, but it is one of those hiccups that is noticeable in an otherwise free world to explore. The other issues I had in my personal playthrough were ladders of all kinds and types. Consistently, the best method for me to get on those ladders was just to jump on them because if I went towards them, it would just, dodge me through the side and it was an awkward feeling. So those are some technical issues that I've had. But outside of those issues, the game has primarily run flawless for me with no game breaking bugs and the world loading in fast. Like so fast, you could barely see the hint screen. And it was on purpose, knowing that Sucker Punch had actually slowed down the loading screens so that players could enjoy the tips and tricks that you would miss otherwise. Sucker Punch put their all in making swordplay, travel, and the world feel as good as it is, and it translates into most of the quests linked outside of the main story. That being said, like many open world games, the unlinked side quests can feel samey here and there, with multiple investigating and following footprints to a location. That being said, it can help with your understanding in some instances the people of Tsushima themselves. The key of exploring, however, is looking out for the sounds and sights the island gives that guides you to the smoothest way I have seen discovering points of interests. Whether it's mystical golden birds that lead you to a secret that can reward you with new swords, hats, or even just to calmly think of a haiku that rewards you with a headband that you will keep for the rest of your journey that has the poem written on it forevermore. The way the story progresses invites you to explore the island of Tsushima in its three main sections, having to gather allies, liberate islanders, and take revenge on the Mongols for the atrocities they commit can be breezed through with the crisp writing and acting of each and every one of the characters. If I personally had focused solely on the story missions, I feel like the story would still be satisfying, but a lot shorter than what the island can show. The first island is already an hours long journey to explore and feels satisfying to do so. Following main characters' journeys for survival, revenge, and unifying behind Jin himself lead to explore just a small part of the island and bring in a deeper understanding of Tsushima and the people of the island. As you expand these characters, their motivations for helping you and their history with Jin feels like the perfect complement for an already gripping samurai story fighting against impossible odds. I personally find it that way, at least, going with Jin and his personal story of survival. Now, with all that said, the game isn't some hardcore game where you will suffer if you don't react fast and time the dodge just right, like in a Dark Souls style game. The game has a learning curve, of course, but it is one that I believe anyone can learn in a short period of time. And with a bit of leveling up, your gameplay will be a lot easier and can go from struggling in just fighting a couple of enemies to taking out entire Mongol encampments, either stealthily, like I do, or just going straight ahead and wrecking their short lives. Now, from here on, I plan to dive into spoilers. So if you want to skip to my final thoughts, go to the timestamp that is written down here below. Giving yourself a little second. You good? Now, onto the spoilers territory. Now, for me, I started the game the Tuesday after it came out, so I'm a little late in that sense on the hardest difficulty. And although the enemies at the very start were difficult, I could tend to deal with them with ease. With the release of lethal difficulty, however, I went through the other two islands fully in this difficulty, and it is a world of difference with the gameplay. As someone that enjoys a challenge myself, lethal difficulty somehow made the gameplay even more compelling for me. The main reason for this section to get back on point has to be the main side quests of Lady Masako and Sensei Ishikawa, arguably my top two storylines. Their journey goes through stages in all three sections of the island, containing a segment of their story. To start, let me get to Lady Masako. Masako's story, filled with revenge and the horrible truth, was overall my favorite side story of the game. It's such a human tale where she starts out just killing anyone she suspects to the horrible realization that her family was killed by none other than her sister. The buildup of her quest felt fleshed out, and I truly felt the history of her family and some out of field surprises, like honestly her love affair with Mai, confirming that, if anything, she is bisexual, was a really nice part of the story for me. Now, for me, the build up for the E3 scene where her duel showed up in the game, contextualized, was somehow much more intense. Like, honestly, when the E3 trailer came out, I did not feel much hype for this game. But when you get to Lady Masako's duel in that field, the emotions, the anger, and the hurt that you as Jin feel, it just plays out so nice. Now, to move on to Sensei Ishikawa, the biggest payoff was during the second end of the island and the final island section where I finally confronted his student, Tomoe. Moving from not doubting the sensei to having to wonder if Tomoe was truly pure evil is the kind of gray line I enjoyed in the story. Having that final moment where you see her just float off in the distance and Sensei having to admit his error, just wishing to have had a nice successor. I personally felt the acting was on point and I felt moved by the conclusion of that storyline. That said, the other main side quests had similar qualities, and the biggest standout for me was the tale of Yuriko, Jin's caretaker. Yuriko's story is the one I think helped build Jin's personal backstory the most. while delivering a heartfelt story of revelation and devout love. Jin has never been softer in the story than with her. Even when she loses herself to dementia and confesses her affair with Jin's father after the loss of his mother. At the end, putting her in the ground after the shattering revelation, Jin is at his best, putting his beloved caretaker to rest with her family and his own. The last thing I'll mention before I get to the final story beat is the fact that this game pulls a Red Dead Redemption 2 and makes you see the loss of your horse, man. That hurt. For me, I chose the white horse and I named him Nobu. It was painful for me at this point in the story to see him go, as I had gotten attached to him quite well. It may not have been as personal as RDR2, but the impact still hit me close to home. Now, for the final and most important part of the story, the final battle of ideals between Jin and his uncle, Lord Shimura. The final battle you have with him in the training circle that started it all thematically and personally releases the tension just beautifully, in my opinion. The music and swell of emotions as you have to face down the mentor and hero in one of the most beautiful sunsets, just as it's wow, it's amazing, man. And lethal difficulty as well. The fight kicked my so beware of that. But it is a cathartic fight. Becoming the ghost in the face of your uncle was great. And although he tried to kill me, I felt that Jin wouldn't have killed his uncle, and so I spared him as Jin began hiding for the next time he is needed on the island. The last part I want to just gush about a little bit is when you finish the game and you have all these cute little Easter eggs of Sony and Sucker Punch games just on Jin's workshop table. I don't know, man. For me, it just was such a cute and out of nowhere Easter egg. So here's a small slideshow of images before my final thoughts. Overall, my experience with Ghost of Tsushima was fully engrossing, and it's rare for me to have that lately in these games. Each time I started up this game, I just wanted to keep exploring the island as well as slowly progress through the story. Having gotten the game late on the Tuesday after release, like I mentioned before, I have spent probably a good 40 plus hours on it just from walking slowly through its landscapes. I mean, walking through is one of the best experiences that you can have in this game. Nature is just absolutely gorgeous. I know there are people that just blasted through and have gone ham through the story, ending it in no time flat, but I think Tsushima is a journey best taken slow. Overall, at the end of this report, I will give my personal opinion on whether a game should be bought and played, borrowed from a friend, or just probably avoid. And in this case, I would easily say it's worth to buy and play through this game whenever you can afford it. If you like open world games, a vibrant, colorful world, and a badass samurai and compelling story, Ghost of Tsushima is for you. Thank you for watching the first episode of Snake's Report. Through this series, I will be giving my thoughts on games old and new that I get my hands on and give my view on said game. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll be seeing you soon. Snake, over and out.